Hey everybody, welcome into the Beehive. I'm your host, the Bee at LLC, and this is where we stack precious metals like it's pollen and nectar. And, we're here today to talk with Aaron Berk. I have Harlan J. Berk out of Chicago, Illinois, precious metals dealer in Chicago. And I sent him an email a little bit earlier, so hopefully I wasn't too late in getting to him, so hopefully he will pop up here soon. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and open up. Okay, here, I just got an email saying he's running a bit late and will be in 20 minutes. All right. Let's see if I can cover things until he shows up. And Niels Han Dynasty, welcome in. Homestead Aquarius, good to see you guys. How are you doing? Lassie Farm, hello. I think I got an email from you, Lassie. I have not got to that yet, but I will after this stream here. All right, let's see. In the meantime, I think I'll open up this catalog I got from Harlan J. Berk from their latest sale. Silverboy Blues, hello, good to see you. Yeah, sorry, Silverboy Blues, the other night you popped up and I just brought you up without introducing you, and then there was, I don't know, somebody was blabbing their mouth. It's probably Neil just blabbing away, and I should have just interrupted him, but I didn't, and then you popped back down, so I'd love to get you back up here sometime. I apologize about not properly introducing you. So hopefully I can get you back up sometime. Gilgad in here now. Oh, Imagination Hobbies, Gilgad. I missed you guys. How'd that happen? Welcome in. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. No, Neil, I'm joking. Joking. All right. So this is the 226th buyer bid sale. And I believe it is closing. It was still up this morning, but I think it's closing any moment now. I don't know exactly when. I suppose Aaron does. But it is winding down. This coin is amazing. So this coin is like in the 300s, I'm going to say, BC, 400 BC. And you already have this Sparta helmet, or what I would consider a Spartan helmet, but this is actually a Greek coin. So evidently these helmets went back at least to the Greeks there. So that's very interesting. And I believe this is just some type of necklace type thing, amulet, I guess. And that's a pretty impressive Byzantine stamp right there for being Byzantine. Looks pretty mint state. Don't seem like I see very much mint state or very good strikes in the Byzantine stuff. Rome had many hand-me-downs. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, see, Neil, the Trojan helmet. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. Well, in fact, I can bring it up on. Let me just bring it up on his site while we're waiting here. All right, now I can share my screen. Okay, so here we are over at Harlan J. Berk's 226 buyer bid sale. So that's what we have right here, live on the net. And let's see, let me get over here. Got to get another monitor for this screen sharing stuff. I'm hoping to have that by our next get together with Aaron. So we have this coin here. Let me make sure. Yep. In the middle is let's click on it here and see when it says it's from. 282 to 263 BC. So 263 to 282 BC. Not quite 300 BC, but nonetheless, it's before the Roman Empire. And just do a little video of it here. We're looking at right now, so it started at 72,500. Right now it's the closing out sale. And so we've got a reserve at $67,500 on this coin. It's an amazing ancient coin right here. And that Spartan helmet is, goes to show that they had that at least 282 BC. So it's, I don't know why we're calling it a Spartan helmet, but so it goes. So you have ancient coins, ancient pottery. So Aaron was telling me last time that this pottery is all broken, at least what was buried under the earth. Most of it's been broken, but is all there, and they just glue it back together. And I guess it doesn't hurt the resale value really, so that's interesting. But some amazing art in these vases, which I was saying, I can't believe some of these vases survived, and I guess they didn't necessarily survive intact, but nonetheless, they're still amazing when put back together. All right, what do we got going on here? I didn't have much to say. Oh, cool. Yeah, well, we'll get you up here next time. Check those out. Yeah, I got a lot to learn myself. So that's what we're trying to do here today. I'm really lucky to be able to have Aaron on with me. He is an expert in the field that I have very little knowledge of, but I'm very intrigued by and interested in. So I'm excited to be able to learn from him. Trojan were people that lived in the city-state of Troy on the coast of Turkey by the Aegean Sea around the 12th, 13th century BC. Okay, yeah, you're talking the very origins of them. So the Trojan does date back to the 12th century, yeah. So they were already called Trojans at that time, Neil, is that correct? I guess I was thinking that didn't get attached till later, but I'm probably wrong. Liberty Bleeds Silver, welcome in. Yeah, I know. Well, I feel a little behind for this morning's live here, so yeah, running around indeed. The Trojan horse thing. Well, speaking of the Trojan horse thing, so that first coin we were looking at, yeah, I'll have to have Aaron tell me about it, but I think this is supposedly representing a Roman temple of sorts. I can't remember exactly what he said about it, but Hopefully I can remember to ask him. But I think some of these things here, yeah, probably are in reference to that. A Roman bedroom. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, Neil. The one with all the pictures on the wall, paintings on the wall. Indeed, you got to be careful around Silver Boy Blues if you're looking to pick something up. It happens to the best of us, Silver Boy Blues. Nickel Stacking, welcome in. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. I think we're going to have Aaron Berk joining us here shortly. Thanks for being here. We're learning about some of these rare ancient coins that indeed not as well known in my opinion as they should be. So I guess that's part of what I'm doing here on this channel, is trying to bring some more knowledge to this field of ancient coins, because I'm intrigued deeply by them, love the art, fascinated with the history, and this is something real that you can hold in your hand, and that art, that imagery was what the people of the time were seeing, and you can read about it and glean something more from it. So that's what I find is amazing about them. And then, I think there's just the reason that they're not bigger within the coin community is just because there's a big knowledge barrier. We don't know enough about them, and I think that's what keeps people back. I know for me it was fascinating to find out that you can still purchase coins from this era, and they have all the detail from that time preserved, and it's, I don't know, fascinating to me. Poseidon symbol on that coin. Yeah, there's a lot of Poseidon symbology. Nickel talking about osmium again. And wow, you guys are cruising in the chat here. I'm not sure what we're doing. Oh, here we go. We're getting close here, I think. I hear him back there. Aaron.
Hey.
Welcome in. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries, man.
I forgot I had to run and do an appointment, and I just got back, so I ran back.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so let's see. What should we talk about today? So, I thought I'd start off. Last time you mentioned that it's kind of let me see. Let me shut this down. Kind of a Wild West, I don't know where you would get an idea, like, it's the Wild West out here. But why don't you tell me a little bit about that? I feel like I was really happy and excited about starting this channel, still am. But I realized that I think I've walked into, an ocean that I didn't realize I was walking into, as
Sure.
far as, this is probably one of the longest lasting markets in existence, in a sense, isn't it? I mean, these coins have been, maybe not necessarily the ones we're dealing with now, but some of them have been collected from since they were produced, I suppose.
Absolutely. Coins were always collected, even in ancient times. We know that also from the fact that many were pierced in ancient times and worn as jewelry or made into jewelry. And so it's always been a phenomenon that's, is still done today. As far as the Wild Wild West, what I was kind of referring to was the fact that there's a lot of ignorance about how to buy and sell ancient coins. And it's always come down to the person who knows the most. And
Yeah.
there's less, there's more tools out there, but also it can be a little bit cloudy in the waters as well, because you may have a situation where you have a lot of transparency as far as looking up records and things like that, but it doesn't mean that the people that are selling them on the other side are asking the proper pricing. So, and then you have people who are doing slabbed ancients, encapsulations, which I have one back here. Let's grab one. Here's one that's encapsulated. I don't necessarily sell them this way. I normally crack them out. Occasionally I'll sell them to new people that are starting out, but this is just an opinion. They don't, NGC does not guarantee the authenticity. They guarantee, even though the name of the company is NGC, which stands for Numismatic Guaranteed Corporation. Yeah. So they do guarantee everything else except for ancient coins. And the reason is that they mess up just like the rest of us. Yeah. And so they are a good vetting process or company for that. But the one thing I have a problem with them is that people overpay for the slabs. And once somebody gets this in their hand, which tends to be telemarketers or US dealers that don't know anything about ancient coins. Yeah. And they end up following the pricing that's going on at Heritage and at Stacks. They are selling slabbed ancients coins, which is only about 20% of the market or less. And so most ancient coins are sold raw all over Europe, in fact. And most of the larger dealers in ancient coins don't sell slabbed coins. They sell raw coins. And reason is we have to guarantee everything we sell for life. And so, excuse me. Sorry about that. Let me just turn this off really quick. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries. Nickel Stacking has put a question. Fooled ?
Hold on one second. Let me just turn this off. Turn my phone off real quick. Do not disturb. Okay, there we go. What was the question then?
Well, yeah, it was just that I think NGC does NGC get fooled ? And I know that they have, and I know probably a lot of people would be surprised to hear that they've actually, of course, they have put coins in capsules and authenticated in them, and of course they've turned out to be not authentic.
Correct. Or they may say something is tooled, like over cleaned.
Sure.
That isn't. I'm going to be profiling this coin actually in my next podcast. This is an ancient coin that I sold to a dealer actually, and you can see they wrote not genuine. Well, this came from a dealer in Israel who actually cleaned the coin, and I have the before clean photos.
Wow. Awesome.
And this particular dealer in Israel is one of the best. He's been doing numismatics for 40 years, and he actually helps the Antiquity Authority, the government in Israel, authenticate coins. And he cleaned the coin himself, and he had the before photos. So I knew that the coin was good, but I wanted to let him know. And and so they condemned it for whatever reason. But I'm just going to use it as a teaching opportunity. The coin was only $500. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Sure.
But it was just the fact that I can kind of show people that everybody makes mistakes.
Sure.
No one is perfect.
Sure.
The problem is that for me, when because NGC doesn't guarantee the authenticity, they have no skin in the game. Okay, so they can charge whatever they want, and there's no recourse if they make a mistake. when they condemn a coin like this, I had to give back $450 to the dealer who bought it from me, even though it's real, because they particularly only sell coins in slabs. So so it's not a big deal to me. I give him back his $450. I don't care. But the fact is that what if it was a $10,000 coin?
Yeah, no
You
doubt.
know,
No doubt.
and so there has been situations where they have, I still say, and I'll give them lots of compliments, that they are still very good at what they do, but they're not perfect. Okay.
Right.
So, and the issue I've always had is, why not guarantee up to a certain level for them? Like maybe everything that's under $10,000 they should guarantee, because if they feel like they're really great at what they do, they should be able to cover 10,000 and below without an issue and just self-insure. They're making enough money. Because, for instance, if you that's the other thing, is if on high value coins with NGC, they charge 2% of market value. So if I give them $1 million coin, I have to pay them $100,000 to slab it.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And what if they're wrong?
Sure.
They're still taking their $100,000, and there's no recourse for them.
Yeah, and I suppose something that strikes me a little strange is that, other dealers have to put their name on the coin and they're backing it up themselves, which can be very costly in that case. Whereas they get to use the label Guarantee Corporation, and they're not guaranteeing, and so that's
Right.
just kind of odd.
Yeah, I once made the mistake of saying that they don't guarantee anything, and I was corrected by David Vagey by email saying that they do guarantee they do guarantee grade, and I'm like, well, how do you guarantee a grade when it's just an opinion? And he said, oh, we've definitely corrected those mistakes, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So if you put a star on a coin, which means that they really like it, and two clients who are really into slabbing and star designations pay 10 times what the coin is worth when the coin shouldn't necessarily be a star, you don't have a problem with that. There's no recourse for that. And so and I think part of the reasons why they don't guarantee is because they know that most of the sellers are guaranteeing it already, so they don't want to have to guarantee it as well. Or have to be on the hook for anything if something doesn't go their way. They don't want to, and I get it. Like if they grade a $50,000 coin and they end up being wrong, they don't want to have to get back $50,000, and they're saving the dealer that sold the fake coin in that situation. Because you can't double dip on a return of money. It's not like NGC can then go to the dealer that sold it and say, well, you owe me $50,000 now because I had to give back $50,000.
Yeah.
So I understand the problems with it, but again, they don't have any skin in the game, and that and they do, if they didn't guarantee for any other area of coinage, then I would understand. But they guarantee U.S. coins, they guarantee currency, they guarantee everything else except for ancients. And I did a whole study on slabbing, U.S. versus foreign versus currency, and ancient coin slabbing is the most expensive slabbing of all the slabbing between both companies. They charge the most, and they give the least guarantee. So it's kind of a racket if you think about it. They've done some really good things for the market. So I have to give them compliments where compliments are due, but I also have to point out where there's issues in the system.
Right. Yeah. Definitely brought a lot of people in, including me. I mean, the first thing I bought was a slab for that very reason.
Right. But this is just a box. That's all.
Right.
It's just a box.
And that's what I was excited to get into this about, is because the more you learn about it, you realize that is just a box. For me, it's all about holding the coin. That's where I got the enjoyment out of it.
Right.
And so to me, yeah, it's helping to bring people in, but now that those issues are starting to pop up, I'm hoping that, with the internet now and the possibilities of gaining so much information from, my channel, other channels, I would hope that, some of that, because I see overall information being the block to ancient coins. I think the reason they're not bigger, and this is just my opinion, but it's just because of the knowledge block. I don't think people know that they can trust them, how, that they're authentic, that they're legit. There's just not a lot of information, that at least I didn't know about any of it when I stumbled into it. So
Yeah, I always just tell people, and I tell this people all the time on my podcast, is that you just have to deal with a dealer that has a guarantee and that has good experience in the industry, and when they make a mistake, that they handle it properly, right? Because you only know if a dealer or an individual is worth their weight when things don't go their way, and then see how they react.
right,
Everything is a happy place when people are buying and they're happy and everything else. But when there's that one negative situation comes up, are they going to step up to the plate and do the right thing? And so having a dealer that's a member of specific organizations, the ANA is not one of them, because ANA just means you just have to pay to have a membership. There really is nothing, there's no standard there. But to be a member of the PNG, which is the Professional Numismatic Guild, or the IAPN, which is the International Association of Professional Numismatists, you actually have to have like $1 million inventory, have no felonies, be in business for X amount of years, be voted in by the entire membership, and then you have to follow their bylaws. And so, like, if you sell a fake coin and not give your money back, it gives the public a place to go without having to go to the courts. And if those dealers don't follow those rules, they can be disciplined and or kicked out of the organization.
yeah, that's awesome. So that's what I was kind of impressed by in our last talk. So that's a legit guarantee right there, and that's how you guys are handling that on the big scale. That was interesting to find out. There is legitimate guaranteeing and corporations out there to back it that are there just for that. So that's
Yeah, I mean, now I knew a dealer in Germany that was selling fake coins. He was a good dealer for 30 years, 40 years, and then he kind of went to we call it going to the dark side, started selling fakes. And I don't know if he necessarily knew. He just felt like he knew more than everyone else, and he was making a lot of mistakes. And he gave a guarantee of authenticity to a person in general. But there was a guy, client in the United States, who bought a coin for $30,000 from him, and then it turned out that the coin was fake, and he had it submitted to what's called the IBSCC, which is kind of like NGC, but it's through the IAPN, and it's made up of a ton of dealers that will vet a coin, and then they will give a certificate whether it's bad or not and all the reasons why. And so it's a trade-off from sending things to NGC. And the coin was condemned, and instead of paying the client back, he quit the IAPN. So so it doesn't know, and honestly, now he's out of business. So it was kind of the beginning of the end for him, But
sure.
it's, in general, people in this business do the right thing because your reputation is everything, and once you lose your reputation, that's it for you. So
Yeah.
And so we have a very strong reputation in the business. My dad's been doing it since 1964. I've been doing this since 1992. And I would say most people would consider us to be good sellers of ancient material. They don't come to us because they're worried about buying fakes. So, and if one slips through, they know that they're going to get their money back ASAP. So without questions asked.
Yep. No, and I thought that's what I think it is just that people don't know where to find legit guarantees or what's out there or anything about that. So indeed, I think that's obviously why everybody runs to the slabs, which is understandable and okay. But yeah, I would like to see. I mean, that's hopefully some of the stuff that we can accomplish here is to bring information so that people aren't so scared that they have to go to the slabs because they just don't understand what's going on.
Nickel asked if you can carbon date ancient coins. You cannot. You can only carbon date organic material, like pottery. So you can actually, I used to occasionally get Greek vases, ancient Greek vases, carbon dated. And the way you do that is you send it to a person who takes a sample. They have to drill it, take the sample usually from the bottom of the base, and then they can carbon date it from that sample. With ancient coins, metal, they're trying to figure out ways to. There's been some work done by the American Numismatic Society where they're actually taking kind of broken coins and they're drilling them. So they're coins that are already bad, broken or not collectible. And they're actually drilling them and studying the metal inside the coins and then basing that based on the period and where they would have been minted at the time, and knowing what came out of the earth and what was being done at that time. And then they can basically come up with a pattern possibly to say, well, if this coin is, if they do a metal test of it and they find that the silver is high quality, like 98% silver,
Yeah.
it may not be real because maybe for that period the finest they ever got was 80%.
Right.
There are some things that they're working on, but it's not definitive. And I was talking to somebody who cleans coins, and they said that sometimes, depending on the chemicals you can clean it in, you can pull some of the impurities out that were in there even in ancient times, and you can get a variety of different results from the gun when they do it. You can shoot a gun. There's like a gun, X-ray gun that goes into it that can tell you what the metal purity is. Yeah. So that's not 100% either, but it definitely gives some clues. Yeah. The one nice thing about silver and bronze is that it does age. Bronze is a living creature and it constantly changes. Silver can oxidize, and so over thousands of years. Sometimes the coins are actually struck while the silver is already oxidized anyway. So gold is the hardest thing because gold is not, XRF, that's correct. Gold does not age at all. So gold is really going to be based on style, and any other, weight obviously is extremely important. If the weight is off by a lot, we know it's fake, because the gold and silver were treasury coins, so they were very accurate about gold and silver. And so gold is probably the hardest. That's the hardest. So it really takes a good eye and to study the dyes to make sure that if it's a brand new dye of a known gold coin that's been issued tons of times, then we have a pretty good indication that it could possibly be fake. There can be a new dye, but you got to be really careful at that point.
Sure, yeah, I imagine. So I guess, I was thinking about it. Like I was saying, I'm kind of realizing that, I'm entering into a really old market. It's a big market. Like you say, I mean, I heard you say your dad every once in a while will still see a new design or imagery or something that he hasn't seen before.
Absolutely.
It's it's big.
Absolutely. No, it's very true. And we see really cool things, lots of things here all the time. I mean, I just got in a 12 Caesar set in gold this week.
Wow.
And that was a blast. The collection was put together in the 1990s. And so part of my job is finding coins for clients. And so in that situation, I found somebody in another country that was, I can say, there's a guy in Canada who was putting together a 12 Caesar set in gold, and so I knew this guy had this set because I saw it in the fall, and I offered it to, I basically am middleman and sold the collection to this guy in Canada. So sometimes my job is holding coins and not really buying them, but just moving them from one destination to another.
Wow, that's interesting. It was nice set. I suppose it's increased in value a fair bit too since the 90s, eh?
Yeah, for sure. He probably only has he probably had 50 or 60,000 into it, and he's getting over 100,000.
Nice, cool.
So, but maybe you make more money if you put it in the bank, Who knows?
Right. Yeah.
For 20 years.
Right.
Well, not with these interest rates, but anyway.
Right. Yeah. So along the lines of that, so am I coming in right at the top of a bubble in your eyes? Like, are we I
Yes and
I
no.
realize we're in a bubble in many areas in the world. Is it the same in the ancient coin
Yeah,
market?
I don't know if it's a bubble yet, because this bubble's been happening since just after 2012.
Okay.
So if you want to consider over decade long bubble a bubble, I don't know.
So
It just
that was kind of its rallying point where it turned around and went.
Yeah, around 2008 during the recession, it was at a real low point. 2006, 2007.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of big buyers in the market, and then after 2012, so that what really started it was the Sheikh of Qatar, one of the Sheikhs of Qatar, who was the Emir's brother or cousin. He started buying ancient coins, and he was overpaying for all the Greek. And he basically was there was 3 or 4 billionaires that were fighting over all the best quality coins in the market, and completely drove the market insane.
Wow.
And so ever since then, it seems that the market really has stayed pretty healthy for a while. You have to understand too is that ancient coins were always a very devalued market, meaning it should have been a lot higher than it was. And so if you consider it to like US coins, there's no comparison, because before 2012, I think there was only 2 coins that ever sold for $1 million or more. And in US coins, it happens all the time. And so if you think about it in those terms, it's pretty crazy that we hadn't hit the $1 million mark ever, before that point. And so, ancient coins have a much broader interest as well, because it really is all of our history for the most part.
Yeah.
It's Western history. And so, where not the whole world doesn't collect US coins, just US buyers for the most part. So, and yes, there's a lot of US buyers for them, and that's why the demand is so high, and that's why the prices are so strong. It's also a limited amount of nice coins in the US market as well, because we know how many coins they issued. In ancient coins, there's a lot more supply, but there was a lot less collectors. And now I feel like there's a lot more collectors coming into it. And so you could say it's a bubble, or you could say that finally ancient coins have gotten the respect that they always deserved.
Yeah, I guess that's what I've been pondering a lot on that very, very topic. I suppose because I'm entering into it or whatnot. But
Right.
yeah, that's interesting. So with like I'm wondering, do you think there's more hoards being discovered recently to kind of go along with that increase in collectorship, or how is?
Well, I'm sure there's always been hoards being found, but I don't really, if I went back to the 90s when I started, there was a lot, because the laws were a lot less. There was no real legal issues um, for dealing with newly found coins that were taken out of the country illegally. You'd never go to those countries and take things out illegally, because you'd be in trouble. But if a hoard came to Germany or England or Switzerland, you're free to buy it just like anyone else. You just didn't ask questions on how it got there. These days, I find that it's better just to buy from other dealers, auctions, and because we've been in business for so long, for almost 60 years, over 60 years, we get a lot of old collections that we sold back through us. And so I prefer just to deal with those scenarios than to deal with anybody who could be problematic for breaking the law.
Yeah. Is there quite a few coins that you would like to get in that you can't because of customs laws? Or is that a big problem so far for you? Or there?
No, I don't really see it as a problem, because there's enough coins that are, even that they're on restrictions, they have pedigrees or shown ownership before those restriction dates. So if they pass a restriction in 2008, if I have a coin from 2000 that's pedigreed, it's free to come in. So it's a matter of when the coins were out of the country. And you got to understand, like right now, the date for museums and institutions to buy is 1970, before 1970. So
Yeah.
the coin prices for those are very high because the collectors will pay a premium for that. But the goalpost is moving because 1980 now is 40 years ago, you know. So as time goes, I feel like the goalposts will keep moving. So because something that was looted in the 80s is still 40 years ago. I mean,
Right.
everything was looted at one point, if you think about it.
Sure.
Everything was taken out of the source country at one point or another. So, but that's been happening since ancient times. You know, I mean, you can go back to the time when there was wars, and you
There,
have when Vespasian was. I always bring this one up because of the Colosseum. When Vespasian was quelling the Jewish rebellion in Judea, he sent Titus, his son, in, defeated the Jews, and he sacked the Jewish temple and took all the gold and silver, brought it back to Rome, and built the Roman Colosseum with it. So, you know, would you say that the Colosseum should be dismantled and sent back to Israel because it was paid for on the backs of the Jews? Of
sure.
course not, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So the one thing about ancient currency is that it was always made to travel. It's not indigenous to any region. The whole point of creating coinage was so that it could be spent anywhere. And
Right.
so to say that one country owns it because that's where it was minted is pretty short-sighted.
And do you
And
think that was just is it like you're stamping a trusted label that can, like you say, travel anywhere and be known as a value? Is that really?
well, think of money today. It's no different than it is today. You know, if somebody, we can go to a different country and use our U.S. dollars, and because U.S. dollars at the moment are still still the world currency.
Right.
And so you can go anywhere. In fact, most of the time, if you go to South America or the Bahamas, they want U.S. currency over their own currency.
Anyway, yeah, yeah.
So, you know, the fact of the matter is that money has always been a way of it was always mass produced. It was, unless there's a special issue like a medallion or something like that. Most coins, and the other thing is that most gold and silver coins, they're not found on sites. They're found on trade routes because when you buried your treasure, you didn't bury it at your house. You buried it out in the field somewhere. And so when they find a hoard, they're not finding a building that goes along with it. But the
Right.
problem is that where a lot of the issues come between archaeologists and and the market is that archaeologists want everything left in the ground so they can excavate it properly. And you can't say, well, we're going to keep coins off of it because they were made to travel, and we were able to do that for a while because there's still bronze coins that are found on sites. And when they find a site, they want to excavate it. Well, if some smugglers go in there and excavate a site that it's their land or whatever, and they're digging a well and they find, I've heard stories of people in Italy and Greece when because the governments work so slowly there, if they're digging a well, they find antiquities all the time. And let's say they find, they're digging their well, they find a tomb or they find a cache of something, they throw it to the side. They don't want anybody to know about it because if they tell the government that they've, something needs to be excavated here, they'll be shut down for like six months to a year, and they won't be able to dig their well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so most of them in those countries are pretty used to seeing antiquities and coins every time they dig in the ground. So for them, it's more of a bother than anything else. And the other thing is that in a lot of the source countries, not all of them, but in a lot of the source countries, they're poor countries that have a lot of corruption. And so they're people who are in the government that are part of the problem because they may be giving exports to specific people. They might be helping people smuggle things out and getting paid on the side. I've heard of all kinds of stories throughout my 30 years of
Right.
inside people at the government level making money off the stuff coming out of the ground.
Sure.
So, and not to say that everybody in the government is bad. There's obviously lots of good people that are for it as well, but there's
Right.
always going to be bad apples and
Yeah.
corrupt groups. There's two places in the world that has legal excavation of antiquity, and that is in England and in Israel. And the whole point is you find something, you call up the authority, They then look at it, they decide whether they want to buy it if it's a national treasure. If they don't, then you buy a export paper. It helps finance, you know, their museum community, and then they can sell it. And so what happens is you have legitimate people looking for, you know, and I know you have a lot of metal detectorists on your channel.
Right.
You have legitimate metal detectorists, hunters, treasure hunters looking for things that are going to do the right thing when they find it. Right? Instead of some slime ball smuggler, because there's what happens when you create laws against certain things, all the legitimate people stop and all the criminals do. And so the only way to stop it is by legalizing it. That's really the only way it's going to stop. But my whole point about coins and sites is that you can't decipher between a coin and a base and a facade of a building. It's all antiquity at that point. And so it makes it very difficult to say, well, we're going to keep coins off, but keep certain antiquities on. And then you can't decipher between a facade of a building, which is a big no-no, and because that's an actual known part of a structure that wasn't meant for trade. That was their building, right? So it's a very tough situation, and ultimately, I feel the only way that they're going to fix the problem is by legalizing it. But until they figure that part out, nothing will change.
Interesting. All right. Well, Nickel was asking here, what's not a bad question. What market is best for ancient coins? Europe or here?
America's still probably one of the strongest, but there's a lot of material in Europe. Obviously, it used to be you had to go to Europe to find coins. Now you can just go on. There's a gazillion e-sales every day on websites like Numisbid and Bidder, BIDDR. They both have. They're basically a place that has links for every single e-sale that's going on all over the world. And so you literally can go and, you know, I mean, this is I just got this in today. This is 4 Roman Republican coins that I bought from an auction house in England that I bought for stock.
Okay.
So it's real easy these days. I mean, I bought a whole group of Roman coins here.
Okay.
350 coins. I got it in an e-sale for $3.50 a coin.
Oh, a coin. Okay. Yeah. That's still cheap.
$3.50 a coin. But you know, I'll clean them up. I'll pick out a couple coins that we'll write up, and then we put them in our what we call our junk bowl. We take it to shows and we sell them for $15 a piece, and people buy them.
Nice. That's what I want to talk to you a little bit after we get off here. I need to come up, so maybe I can talk to you about that. But on this subject, of kind of where the market is best or where it's going, and me entering into the market and being an old market, I'm kind of wondering, can you has it, and the way he was saying, is it better in Europe? Obviously, we know that's where these coins are originating from. So originally there was more of a market there. Has it, what year do you think it started spreading, or was that, at what point do you think that it's kind of taking off and becoming a worldwide thing more, or is that we're in that stage right now? Or
I mean, it wasn't that popular in the United States, but some of the biggest sellers in the United States in the early 20th century were selling ancient coins. There was a big dealer in Texas. I forget his name right now, but he was probably one of the largest coin dealers in the world, and he was selling ancient coins in the 1910 to 1920.
Okay.
So it's always been collected worldwide. I would just say that it probably wasn't as popular here as it was overseas. When my father came into business in '64, he was one of the first Americans to go over to Europe on a regular intervals to go buy ancient coins and bring them back to the States. There wasn't a lot of people doing that back then, and this is obviously way before internet.
Yeah.
And even photos easily. So the best way to go and buy ancients, if you were looking for wholesale, was going to a coin show or going overseas to Europe and just going from ancient company to ancient company, go to their offices, go through their stock, buy stuff. There there was companies that had been around for 100, 200 years.
And you called those ancient companies. So that are they? I mean, they just kind of set up to take in whatever antiquities / coins / anything ancient.
They were dealers from, like Spink. I think Spink was an auction house that started in the 1700s.
Oh,
So you
wow.
could go to Spink and buy. You could go to Baldwin's. Baldwin's have been around for 100+ years, maybe 200 years, and they were dealers. And so you would just go, and they would have trays and trays of ancient coins that you could go through and buy from.
Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of what I wonder, was kind of how it started and how it's spreading. And I mean, I find that
I'm going to shut my door.
you bet.
1 second. Sorry about that if it was noisy.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, no, I just find it interesting, and I wonder, those companies that you're talking about that were ancient companies, and I wonder how they acquired their stuff, and I were those weren't necessarily connected to the government. Those were personal people who took it upon themselves to kind of collect and move things themselves, and over time that became a market kind of, or
Well, ancient coins have always been bought and sold.
yeah.
I would say that my company in particular, we're just collectors that sell our collection.
Yeah, well, that's definitely
Anybody can become a dealer, even a collector, by depending on how much they sell. In fact, a lot of dealers were collectors as kids, and then turn their collecting into a occupation.
yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do as well. So, yeah, well,
there was one question I just saw. What is the most counterfeit ancient coin? Widow's mite? No, because you can still buy widow's mites in Israel in quantity. And so typically, now will they fake a $10 or $20 coin? Sure. But I would say the most faked are going to be the more popular types, like maybe a Tiberius tribute penny, coins of Augustus, Julius Caesar, gold, a lot of gold Orei, any of the Roman 12 Caesars are faked. Anything that's super, super popular, Alexander the Great, Philip II of Macedonia, all those, anything that famous coins like the Colosseum, the Ides of March, anything that could sell for big money are the coins that are typically faked. You typically don't find, $20 coins faked.
okay. And I suppose you were saying that I suppose gold is often used because you have some of that dating issue, the way gold can.
Correct.
Yeah.
But there's lots of silver that's fake too, because if you have somebody making Alexander the Great tetradrachms, maybe it only has $50 or 40, no, not even that, probably only $25 worth of silver in it. But let's say you sold it for $800. Well, that's a pretty good return on your investment.
No doubt. No doubt.
So, it used to be when I started out, Alexander the Great tetradrachms, were $500, and a dram, which is a smaller denomination, was always $250. There was always the standard $250 and $500, occasionally a little bit more or a little bit less depending on condition, but that was it. Now a nice high grade Alexander the Great can be $1,500 to $2,500, and
Yeah.
a fantastic one that from a rare mint might run you $5,000. So times have definitely changed as far as values of things. And so having somebody do a fake of a silver Alexander, even though they're common, or a fake of an Athens coin, can still be pretty prevalent in the market.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I think we're about to an hour here, so we'll start to wind it down. I guess I have one here. Chisel marks on a coin. Sometimes I'm thinking that am I seeing the original chiseling marks from making the dies? I mean, do we know how they made the dies as far as?
Yeah, they carved iron. In fact, I have a counterfeit. I have an ancient counterfeit die, which I can show you, so you see what they look like. I think it's in here. let's see. Where's that sucker? Oh, here it is. So I bought this in the last Triton sale, and this is an actual. This is what the dies would have looked like. So this is a reverse die. It's hard to tell, but it's actually it's of a counterfeit Domitian denarius. So so this would have been used to make ancient counterfeits in ancient times. So they were actually probably taking copper, what they call forays, which is a copper core with a silver wash, and they were striking them with these coins. So most of the dies that were official didn't survive because they would just keep hammering them until they would break apart. The counterfeit dies usually last because they didn't mint as many coins. So and so typically it's carved in the die, and they're very, very accurate. Nothing would look like a chisel mark. You will get sometimes from just being in the ground, you'll get scrapes, and that's just done from being in the ground, or maybe somebody dug it up and they hit it with a shovel. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
Or it could be that it was test cut in ancient times to see if it was silver all the way through, because there were so many ancient counterfeits, contemporary counterfeits. They would, if a coin came into a new region that was silver and they didn't recognize whether or not it was their coinage, they may cut it through to see if it's silver all the way through. So you'll get coins with test cuts in them. And that just means it went to a different territory and they were just making sure it was silver.
Yeah, cool. All right, Aaron. Well, I'm gonna have to let you go for this time, so I can bring you back hopefully again next month, and we can do this again.
Sounds good. Sorry I was late.
No worries. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Whatever time I can get you, I'm happy to have you. So
happy to be here.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming in, and we will catch you all on